So, let's see which one I want to do. Okay, do you want one about a car accident that was sort of covered up? I don't even know how to explain it without, I'll just, a car accident? Or do you want one about a mercy killing? All right, okay. So this is number 8. Oh, I didn't pull the right card out. Hang on, I'm going to show you. And I have an explanation on, in the tarot, cards 8 and 11 were switched by the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which constructed our modern tarot here. And so I used the old method. Oh, sorry. I used the old method. Just well, it gets into my Sylvia Plath work, but but it's the traditional. And so for the 8th chapter, we have Justice, which is technically card number 11. So I talk a little bit about that. Actually, I'll read that part too, because it is a short chapter. So, chapter 8, Justice. Author's note. In early tarot decks, the Justice card was number 8 in the major arcana. The modern turn-of-the-century decks switched this card with Strength, originally number 11. Justice and Strength are thought to be similar. One aspect assists the other. Medieval beliefs associated heavenly rewards and retribution with the number 8, and the number 8 on its side is the infinity sign associated with karma. I keep to the traditional ordering, so despite the number 11 on the card's picture, you are reading Justice here as number 8 in its rightful place. Okay, now the story. Theo smiled when I took the tarot cards out of my bag and set them on the table in his art studio. Oh yes, I was hoping you'd bring those. I want to understand what those things are about. I want to get a close look at the illustrations too. Who knows, maybe something from them will find its way into my next painting. It wasn't hard to imagine tarot in Theo's art. His modern art sensibilities incorporated everyday objects infused with an abundance of symbolism and weirdness. Embryos with bolts in them, fish on land, faces blending into landscape, and landscape forming faces. Theo's liver-spotted hands shook as he held the cards, giving each one a careful look through the thick, fingerprinted 1970s style glasses perched on his nose. I tried not to look down at his right foot, swollen and gangrenous from diabetes. He kept it wrapped in gauze and perched on a stool while he awaited surgery to amputate his dying toes. Once a handsome guy, he had made sure that I had seen old pictures of him. Theo now looked every bit of his 90 years. What a life he'd had, running all over Europe, studying with the masters, romancing the women. He'd won international art awards, including a Guggenheim. He'd served in World War II, where he painted camouflage on tanks in Normandy. He loved to tell the story about the fake tanks they painted on plywood to expand the visual threat of the Allied attack. Theo wrote poetry and published some books, but mostly he painted. Justice is said to be the tarot card for gifts from the gods, like art and poetry, which some possess and some do not. It isn't fair that only some of us should be so blessed, is it? Here's a picture for you, he said, handing me a sketch of a face with a third eye entitled The Visionary. He had it mounted and ready to be framed. I'm honored, I said, giving him a tight hug. He was the father I never had and always wanted. I tried to come to see him at least once a week. I did not charge for Theo's readings. It was a gift to me just to spend time with him. A signed picture was a bonus. I placed the drawing down carefully and took the tarot cards from his hands to lay them out. How much can you see with those things? He pressed. Oh, I usually start with a little past, present, and future, I said, falling into my spiel. I'm showing you what you already know on a higher subconscious level, and I mirror it back to you. when you see something that somebody does not want to reveal? Sometimes I laugh, but I don't cross lines. I'll respect your privacy, and I wouldn't mention anything I saw if it were not helpful to you. But what if someone is, not a good person? Can you see that? The Justice card features an androgynous-looking judge, whom many ascribe to be the Greek goddess Athena. In one hand, she holds a sword of severity, and in the other, the scales of balance. This tarot justice, however, is not blindfolded. She sees everything that's going on. I looked Theo straight in the eyes and smiled. Everyone I meet is a good person, more or less. We all screw up sometimes. I don't judge, I told him. None of us can judge. Could you see, I don't know, a murderer? What a strange thing to ask. I wondered if Theo carried some horrible memories of the war. Probably that was it. He was a very old man. Perhaps he hadn't been thinking clearly, or used the wrong words. The Justice card can also reflect one's intellectual equilibrium. Theo's cards went down on the table in the great wheel of the Celtic cross. At his core was the Three of Swords, a great deal of emotional woe and heartache, crossed by a Page of Cups, child energy. I was a little confused, knowing Theo and knowing that his daughter was older than me. No children or grandchildren complicated his life as far as I could tell. But it's not for me to figure things out. I just report. It's David, he said in a whisper. My son, who passed. I'm sorry, Theo, I didn't know. He was born with Down syndrome, died when he was 30. Theo elaborated on all the cards of imagination and creativity that showed up around David. The Seven of Cups, the Empress. It was as if Theo knew their meanings without me saying a word. He was so gifted, such imagination, he exclaimed. Theo was lost in a melancholy reverie then, excited about his son's artistic ability and his clever mind, despite his mental disability. Retardation, they called it back then in the 50s. But David's mind was not retarded. Maybe his body was, but not his mind. He was brilliant, brilliant and simple and kind. Theo took off his glasses to wipe away a tear. In Theo's cards, I saw temperance in reverse. I explained that this was health gone awry, or not being strong enough to fight something. That's right. People don't understand that with Down syndrome, it's not just how the faces look and the fat tongues. It's the whole insides. The organs are not in the right place. They don't live long because of that. There's the Justice card in reverse too, Theo. I guess what we're reading is that it's a crime. The whole situation is unjust, wrong. This is also terribly sad. A crime, Theo said quietly. Yes, a crime. But I couldn't help it. Of course you couldn't do anything, I offered, trying to soothe him. It's just one of those things. Life is not fair. Theo appeared even more shaken and upset. Oh Lord, the last thing I wanted to do was to kill an old man with my tarot cards. Theo tapped a paint-stained fingernail onto the Ace of Swords reversed, reading the cards himself now. Those goddamn doctors. They made David their guinea pig, cutting into him all the time. Everything was going wrong, and they kept giving the kid surgery. Surgery on top of surgery. I had no say in the matter as his father. How was I supposed to explain what was happening to him when he had the brain of a 6-year-old? How was I supposed to explain the torture? Justice bears the sword of severity. Athena can really be a bitch. I set the cards down and held his shaky hand. Julia, I am an evil person. I am a bad man. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't watch my boy suffer anymore. Was Theo saying what I thought he was saying? Theo, I said, you don't have to tell. I wasn't ready to hear anymore. But he kept on talking in barely a whisper. I did what any one of us would have wanted. It wasn't right for the doctors to do that to him. It wasn't right, goddammit. We were alone in the hospital, so I kissed David goodbye and took his pillow. It wasn't right. The scales of justice show that balance will prevail. The solution to an issue may not be what was wanted or expected, but it is best for all parties. Justice is impartial, and decisions are made without emotion. The question is, what happens when spiritual justice does not adhere to the world's word of law? I never pressed for details. I don't know how Theo got away with it, how there would have not been questions. Perhaps David was so infirm that no one had expected him to live anyway. When I got home from seeing Theo, I thought about pulling a card for David. I wondered if David felt that he was murdered, or if he recognized this as his father's act of love. I decided it was none of my business. It was right and just that I do not know. I think that's probably good. So all of these stories are true stories. The first story for the Fool card, which is number 0, so it's chapter 0, is my own story. So that's the thing most people ask. How did you become a tarot card reader? Did you know you were psychic? You know, all of that is in the first story. And then every one of these I had journaled over the years. So I did not intend to share this book with anyone initially. It wasn't even going to be a book. It was journal entries. And my loving husband, Tom, suggested during COVID that I put my stories together in a book. And I thought that was a great idea. Gave me something to do during quarantine, and it got snatched right up by Inner Traditions, which the subsidiary Destiny Books, same company, wonderful, wonderful publisher, and they've opened so many doors for me. It's really been a whole different life since working with them, truly. I've been so busy, I've been on radio, I've been on TV. I have some really incredible opportunities opening up. So, so I hope you enjoy it if you got the book. And if you would like a tarot card reading from me here at the event, we can do that. Or if you would like to have more privacy, we can do that just on your own time on the phone. So, so I guess we should just go party in the other room.